Hi there and welcome to Economic Observations. My name is Chris. Today is April 7th and thank you so much for joining me after more than a month of being in my Massachusetts studio. It is good to be back. I spent 1 month in the beautiful country of Tanzania where I had a wonderful time. And if any of you watched my videos, you will see that it truly was a remarkable time. I have so much more footage that I have yet to go through, and it is a lot of work to take 4 or 5 hours worth of footage and condense it into a short video. So thank you so much for those who have watched. As you can see, I started a school in Tanzania and I went there to catch up on things. It has been 23 months since I was last there, and boy, I came home and had to fill up my tank with gas here, and it cost me a whopping $51, and that was a bit of a shock. In Tanzania, I was there for 4 weeks and the price of gas remained at $4.10 the entire time. But unfortunately, yesterday, one of my colleagues there sent me the new gas prices, and they have gone up considerably, 17 cents a liter or 67 cents a gallon. And for those in Tanzania who can barely make ends meet, many living on less than $250 a month, are having a very hard time with the soaring prices. And yes, they are soaring everywhere. It's not just here. This is a global phenomenon. And as beautiful as Tanzania is, it is a relatively poor country. And you might say, well, the poor people don't own cars, and that is true, but they ride on buses that they call Dala Dalas, or they take a motorcycle taxi, or their kids ride a school bus to school, or trucks transport things all around the country. And it is affecting prices there more than it is here. And I know prices here are going up, but they are going up globally. And we have safety nets in our country to help support some of those things. I mean, people have food stamps, and people have free lunch at school or free breakfast programs or whatever it might be. In Tanzania, they don't have any of that. We feed the students every day. We, meaning the Tanzania School Foundation. And the price of food has soared there. Tanzania gets 70% of their wheat from Ukraine and Russia. With the Black Sea closed, it has prevented fertilizers to get into the country. And the price of fertilizer is going through the roof. And 80% of Tanzania is agriculture. So you think about people who live on such small margins. Small margins, and when I say small, they eat rice and beans every single day. Or rice and vegetables. Or maybe they'll have ugali, which is a paste that they make out of corn flour. They don't live large there. And as Americans, we are spoiled because our life can get to theirs in no time. And we're heading that way. I mean, if you have a good job, be thankful. But the poor in America are going to be like the poor in Tanzania. I showed how people live in one-room dwellings with no indoor plumbing or electricity. They pay $10 a month. They live in a little shack. And inside that shack, they might have a chair and a bed. We're heading that way in the United States, but it won't be for $10 a month. Things there are getting hard, just like they are getting hard here. I was reading an article that people are waiting in line up to 11 hours in Kenya to get gas for their cars. There is no petroleum. There is a shortage. The Tanzania president announced a couple of days ago that they only have a 17-day supply of gasoline. And they have a 30-day supply for airplanes. It's not a lot of time. 17 days goes like that. And is that coming here? Is that what we're going to be facing? But I tell you what, by 2030, Africa could be producing some of the world's natural gas and oil for the whole world. And it's coming, and I'm going to talk about that in my next video. But for now, when we think life is hard, Think about those who live on $2 a day. My colleague was telling me that you could buy a chapati. Now a lot of people buy, it's a flat fried bread. It's quite tasty, but they sell it on the street when I was there for 300 shillings. 300 shillings is about 15 cents, and you can buy one of those and eat it for breakfast. He told me the price today is now 800 shillings. The same chapati, because the price of food has increased. It has more than doubled. And when people earn little with no government help at all, no government assistance, how are they going to live? We're going to see famine across the world like we've never seen. Sure, we'll always have options in the United States, maybe at a higher price. But people get adjustments. People have Social Security. People have Medicare. People have food stamps. People get some sort of help. And in Tanzania, there is no help. And while I was there, I saw the anguish on people's faces. I had a wonderful time, don't get me wrong. And I supported a lot of people while I was there. But I came back broke, totally broke. My YouTube channel has diminished in views, and I have no income coming in for this month. And if you would like to help support or offset the cost of food for those kids that you saw in my video, there'll be links in the description. If you'd like to help support, operate our bus and help pay for those rising fuel costs, that would be great. If you would like to help support a child's education because their parents can no longer afford to send them to school, that would be great. Father Christmas Academy does great work. And I am privileged to have built it and to see it running, but they need your help. Tanzania School Foundation donates all of the money that it brings in to support that school, and I would appreciate it. So now let's talk about interest rates going up. So interest rates, the Fed is eager to raise interest rates probably by a whole 0.5%, which is probably a good thing, and they are eager to reduce their balance sheet, $95 billion worth every month. And they need to do this, and we'll see what kind of effect it has. But even now, with the slight increase, the 0.25% of interest rates rising has softened the housing market a little bit. And I can talk about the housing market, and when all these new houses, these permits are finished and these builds are done, we might have an overabundance of houses, and it might bring the housing market down in certain cities across the country. I'm not saying it's going to be everywhere, but those with the biggest boom will have the biggest drop. So we'll see if these liquidations, 95 billions of treasuries, affects the stock market. It should. It needs to. Still overvalued in my opinion. Everything is going to level off a little bit. However, we do have soaring prices, and it's not so much because of inflation. It is because of the supply chain. And folks, well, it's just not going to get any better. We are facing a problem of catastrophic proportions per CNBC. Not only is it a lack of availability and affordability of nutrients and inputs, but Russia and Ukraine have historically exported about 30% of the global wheat and 20% of the global corn trade in the world. That's global. Sorry, I'm jumping all over the place, but in 2021, the price of corn increased 57%. 57% over 2020. And it could be more volatile this year, averaging up to 25% higher on top of that 57%. So in 2 years, the price of corn will go up like 85%. Wheat was up 27% in 2021. And that could tack on another 22% this year. And folks, this is not just in the United States. This is a global phenomenon. And I know that many people are just thinking about the U.S., but I have more of a global perspective because I did live in Tanzania for a long time. And I have a lot of people that I know who don't have a lot of money. And even their Dala Dalas, which are buses, their price is mandated by the government. And the government refuses to increase the prices because they're afraid no one can afford to ride on them. But the Dala Dala owners are all private, and they're afraid to run or operate at a loss. So there's some big problems all around the world that, no one talks about and no one seems to know. Consumers are going to have to make hard choices. All of them. All around the world. Everyone who buys something is going to have to make a hard choice. I'm fortunate we have food in our basement that can last us 4 months. It's not the food that I'd really like to eat, but it's food nonetheless. And I bought that food, some of it at much cheaper prices than they are today. Do I think we're going into this Great Depression? I'm not quite certain. I just left the Great Depression in Tanzania. I know what it's like to live on $2 a day. I see people do it all the time. Do I think that's coming to America? Not yet. Do I think we're going to go into an economic slowdown? Maybe. People are still spending money on travel. I know more people traveling all around the world right now than ever before. My flights home from Tanzania were booked solid. Even my flight from Amsterdam to Boston only had about 10 seats empty. And luckily one of them was next to me. And not so much internationally, but they're traveling domestically. Disney World is sold out for Easter vacation or spring break at schools or whatever. Sold out. You can't find a ticket. And you have to buy a ticket online before you go. You can't just show up and want to enter. Sold out. Some people are canceling their trips because they booked their hotels and their flights, but they can't get into any of the parks. They can't even make a dinner reservation. So people are out there spending money, and those with money, power to them. But there are so many more in debt. And that's one thing I have to say about Tanzania, is people aren't in debt. People can only spend what they have. There is no banking system where you go and take out money and you buy a mortgage for a house or you borrow for a car. I mean, there is maybe on some higher level, but not the average person. They just don't have an income that justifies the payments. And their interest rates are really, really high. Anyway, I've babbled on way too long. I just wanted to say I'm back. If you watch some of my videos from Tanzania, thank you. If you haven't, they're listed below, and I would really appreciate you going in and witnessing what I saw over my month there. If you're inclined to make a donation to support Father Christmas Academy, you can make it through the Tanzania School Foundation, and there are links below, and I would really appreciate it. And this video is brought to you by the Tanzania School Foundation. And thank you so much for watching. As always, I appreciate you. Call someone, tell them you love them. Be kind, and we will talk again real soon. I promise. Have a wonderful night.